Okay, well, we got a big fight. Dr. Jill Stein versus New York State government. That's right. Dr. Jill Stein is calling out New York State as well as the New York Democrats and former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Remember him? Because the anti-democratic party has been working overtime to keep the Green Party off the ballot. And if you remember some previous interviews that I did with Libertarian Larry Sharp, he also went to detail how the New York State government was just putting up roadblock after roadblock against the Libertarians for getting on the ballot. Yes, folks, it's very true. If you are an independent candidate running in the great state of New York, and just ask Diane Scher or either that Jose Vega, just what they got to go through, it is a nightmare. Now, I like to think that Illinois, we're going to be number one, is the most draconian, but it turns out maybe New York State is going after our belt. I want to pull up this tweet from Dr. Jill Stein, in which she explains in detail what her party has to go through and why, again, we need to support third parties and independents because this is completely disgusting that the Democratic Party and, yes, the Republican Party act in this way, prohibiting us as voters from getting different choices. The two-party system can work together in order to prohibit you from having real choices. So let's go ahead and pull up this tweet from Dr. Jill Stein. The anti-democratic party has been working overtime to keep the Green Party off the ballot. One example of these restrictions was forced through by former Governor Andrew Cuomo. The Democrats constantly claim to be fighting for democracy, and they never will, yet pass one of the harshest anti-democracy laws in the world. We need 90,000, count them, 90,000 signatures in 5 weeks. Each signature costs $5, so we need $250,000 for New York State alone. Help ensure we are on the ballot for voters in New York and across the country. So let's go ahead and play this video of Dr. Jill Stein addressing this, where she's in front of the New York State Capitol building.
Hi, everybody. I'm here at the State Capitol of New York in Albany, and I am at the Hall of Power. The State Capitol building in New York State has probably the most oppressive ballot access rules anywhere. It used to be 15,000 valid signatures that we had to collect, and then Governor Cuomo, just before he was booted out of office in disgrace, he tripled that requirement, so it's actually 45,000 signatures now. This was all part of like a kind of a dirty trick, the actions of the Democrats here and the Republicans in their own way, but I'm focusing here on the Democrats for the moment because they're the ones who are always shouting, that they're rescuing democracy. Well, here they are, absolutely steamrolling our democracy, throwing opponents off the ballot to try to prevent Americans from having a choice, a real choice. An anti-war, pro-worker, climate emergency, anti-genocide choice at a time that these issues are just exploding by the hour. Like, how outrageous is it that we have to jump through all kinds of hoops that are virtually prohibitive in order to just be a part of the conversation? And how outrageous is it that we're being told over and over again that we don't have a right to be on the ballot?
And I've heard this so many times from people here in Illinois when I talk about third parties struggling to get on the ballot here in my state. And it's mostly from liberals. Conservatives, not so much. When I've interviewed and I spoke to some Trump supporters and some Republican voters, their hostility towards third parties have been either, they could get in the way, or either that very indifferent. It's been more of a polite conversation. When it comes down to talking to liberals or those that are diehard Democrats, third parties, you might as well just say they're from the depths of hell. So many people I've spoken to have viewed third parties as this big threat when they're not. Third parties are just another option in which Americans can exercise their choice. But Democrats and Republicans at the state and federal level work together to make laws to prohibit third parties from being on the ballot, from being on the debate stage, and it denies us that choice. When Jesse Ventura, way back in the day when he was running for governor, when he got on the debate stage with both the Democratic and Republican candidate, he owned them. And the people saw firsthand just what it's like to have another choice, and how both the Democratic and Republican candidate in that governor's debate couldn't stand a chance against a third-party candidate. Anytime you have a third party candidate on the debate stage, they will bring in new ideas and give the Americans another perspective. See, what Democrats and Republicans want is for you to be divided, team red, team blue. Now, all in all, I think our final goal is to abolish all political parties, but the actions of the New York state and other states that are also enacting harsh laws to prohibit third parties from being on the debate stage should be viewed as anti-democratic. If they're so confident, Democrats, if you are so proud of yourself, including Republicans too, because why not? I'm going to drag both parties in on this one. If you're so confident in your ability to get voters, have third party candidates be on the ballot. Face them off on the debate stage. If you're so confident in the dogs that you got in this fight, have them debate them. See if they actually are as strong as you say they are. Or either that, maybe it's because Democrats and Republicans, the politicians, to be clear here, are afraid because they realize that when there's other options on that stage, they'll be revealed as what they truly are, frauds and liars.
That we are spoilers, that we are ruining the election by offering voters an opportunity to vote for what it is that they want, that voters are being shamed into voting for their oppressors, for the two parties of war and Wall Street that continue to throw us under the bus. It's just unbelievably outrageous. Anyhow, sorry, I'm venting because I've just been inside there in the halls of power talking to the press, and it was actually wonderful to talk to the press. They were actually kind of grateful that a presidential candidate was actually stopping in Albany because, usually they don't bother. And it's such a commentary on how totally effed up things are right now that people are not turning out to vote. They are not happy to have this zombie, really two zombies being rammed down our throats right now. And so you saw over 80% of Democrats basically boycotting the Democratic primary. So there is a huge bucket of people now who are just tearing their hair out for other options, which we deserve, which we should not have to apologize for, which we shouldn't have to fight our way through ballot requirements that were the product of dirty tricks. So we are here to fight this fight. We are here to demand democracy. We are here to demand other choices that actually serve everyday people. So if you're in the New York area, join us, help us circulate these petitions. You can come to New York to help circulate as well. This is perfectly allowable. This is a fight for democracy for us all because
now you could tell that she's upset dealing with the New York state legislatures. You could tell also that this is something that not only will she have to face off against, but so will, to an extent, RFK Jr., Dr. Cornel West, whatever you say about his campaign. I know, mediocre at best. And, of course, the Libertarians. But this is a story we here at Hardlands Media are all too familiar with. In fact, our first interviews that we ever did was with the Libertarian and Green Party candidates here in the state of Illinois, people who were running for office and people who were telling us the horror stories in which they had to deal with in order to secure ballot access. I'll never forget the 2022 midterm election cycle in which the Libertarians, to their credit, sorry, I mean, unpause there. The Libertarians, to their credit, which is an incredible feat all on its own, were able to secure most of their candidates to be on the ballot. Now, I do feel sorry for that person who probably had to not only organize and secure the ballot access, but also make sure that the state of Illinois wouldn't remove those names. And seeing what New York State is doing, this is an arduous task because already the Green Party, Libertarian Party, and so many other independent candidates really have to struggle to get recognized. And this is a death blow because, unfortunately, money in politics is a thing here in America, and money talks and the bullshit walks.
Candidate who's kept off the ballot in New York, the most difficult state, arguably, doesn't really have a fighting chance and isn't really contesting for power across the country, which is what we have to do. So we got to fight on our hands. That's nothing new to us as Americans. We are perfectly well aware that we are all in the crosshairs here, that our democracy is on life support, barely surviving. We have to stand up and take our democracy back. We need to be on the ballot in New York State. We need to be on the ballot across the country for every voter so that peace is on the ballot, democracy is on the ballot, a workers' agenda is on the ballot, and climate survival is on the ballot. We are on track to be the only such campaign that will actually be on the ballot across the country. If you are in the vicinity of one of the states of struggle now, which are particularly New York, Illinois, and
Hey, my state. Yes, we're there. The most draconian state. I think we're the most draconian, but maybe New York State, you're giving us a run for our money. I don't like that.
Indiana. Get in touch.
Hold on. Let's rewind that again.
Bible is on the ballot. We are on track to be the only such campaign that will actually be on the ballot across the country. If you are in the vicinity of one of the states of struggle now, which are particularly New York, Illinois, and Indiana, get in touch with us at jillstein2024.com and join the team, because we are all in this together. If we stand and fight together, we are unstoppable. This is the perfect storm for the deep political change that we need now more than ever. So thank you so much for leading the charge, and see you soon on the campaign trail.
Now, I want to pull up this article here. This is from April 16th. Presidential hopeful Jill Stein made an appearance. So this is like a few days before. Made an appearance at the Capitol Tuesday to push for changes to New York ballot access restrictions. Stein, who's a Green Party candidate, said that it's no simple matter for third-party independent candidates to meet the state's requirements. New York lawmakers in the year of 2020, a controversial year in which many controversial laws were passed, increased the number of required petitions from 15,000 signatures to 45,000 under former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. The rules also were changed for party qualifications, receiving at least 50,000 votes in the gubernatorial elections to getting 2% of the vote for the top office in elections every other year. Stein said New York is one of the most difficult states for third-party candidates. I think Illinois is probably the worst, but all right. Maybe New York, if you're finally coming after us. But said that the Green Party would continue to petition and collect signatures because they need to be on the ballot to truly contest for power. The independent petition period began Tuesday. Stein's push for the White House, which she also ran for in the Green Party in 2012 and 2016, comes as many polls show many voters across America would like other options other than President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, the presumptive Democratic and Republican nominees, respectively. In the current environment where the two major party candidates are historically unpopular and widely rejected, New Yorkers, like the rest of Americans, are hungry for other choices and other voices, and for candidates who reflect deeply felt needs and wishes for New Yorkers. Stein said the Green Party frontrunner is also pushing for passage for universal free health care plan, the Green New Deal, and end what she calls the genocide in the Middle East. Stein has also expressed support for expanded access for abortion services, which he said Democrats have failed to deliver after promising voters a codified version of Roe v. Wade. So what can we take from this? The fight that third parties and independents have to deal with, especially to get ballot access, is intensifying. Our system is not perfect. It's horribly flawed, and it's denying voters from actually exercising their choices. Now, this election cycle, we're seeing renewed interest by voters into seeing something new, and that is they want another choice. They don't want to see two old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup. Joe Biden versus former President Donald Trump. It's a click, copy, paste of what we saw in 2020. No one's excited for it. No one's hungry for it. Only except diehard sycophants, people still hypnotized in voting Team Red, Team Blue, Democrat, Republican, tomato. It really doesn't matter because both parties, whoever sits in the office, Goldman Sachs is going to have a seat at the table, not you, the voter. Independents, though, are gaining more favorability. But what are we witnessing, especially under this administration, though? The intense pushback by Joe Biden's administration to prohibit third parties and independents from being on the ballot. They're already trying to do that against Trump, and they failed miserably at it. But we also see this being done by Democrats and Republicans at the state level, prohibiting independents, third-party candidates from being on the ballot. And they're trying their very best to dust off their old playbook in trying to suppress independence. Now, I want to pull up this article here. It's in no relation to Jill Stein, but has to deal with RFK Jr. Kennedy survives first effort to boot him from the ballot. I will disagree with RFK Jr. on a lot of policies. However, he is running for the office, just like Jill Stein, just like whoever the Libertarian nominee is going to be, just like Cornel West, just like Donald Trump. If they're running for office, fine. They deserve to be on the ballot. This whole need to kick people off the ballot is something that is completely wrong. It's undemocratic. It's unjust. So RFK Jr. survived his first legal challenge to his ballot access from the Democratic Party. Hawaii's state Democratic Party failed to meet its burden of proof to boot RFK Jr.'s newly formed We the People Party from the ballot, according to an order from the Office of Elections late Friday. While Hawaii's 4 electoral votes are not likely to be consequential in the general election, you never know. This is going to be the most interesting election cycle, not the most important, though. This first victory against a challenge is a sign that efforts to keep independent candidate off the ballot, mostly undertaken by Democrats so far, face long odds of success. Democrats, you keep on losing. You keep on getting that egg in your face. At this point, I'm wondering how many people in the Democratic Party have like this fetish of being humiliated. Probably a lot. I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me. I think Tucker Carlson's absolutely spot on. There's a lot of weird people in Washington, D.C. The challenge filed by the state party's chair, no surprise there, also tested the ability of RFK Jr.'s campaign team to withstand these coming legal battles. You see that, Bernie? Maybe if you weren't such a nutless wonder, you would actually have a strong campaign to challenge what the Democrats were doing to you in 2016 and 2020. But oh, wait, you were a nutless wonder. In this case, RFK Jr.'s side didn't even have legal representation. I'm going to ask you to bear with me. I'm not an attorney. I'm just a mom with a lot of kids, and I'm doing this because I want to make sure their future is a little bit brighter, said Kim Haynes, chair of Kennedy's third-party bid in Hawaii, said during a hearing, which was held on Zoom earlier this month. RFK Jr. and his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, are both attorneys. Neither was present for the hearing. At numerous points during the proceedings, hearing officer Aaron Schiller was forced to explain procedures to Haynes and Michael Marzowski, who defended their party against William Mehula, the state Democrats' party lawyer. Democrats, if you're so afraid of RFK Jr., then have a strong candidate to debate him. Democrats, if you're so proud of yourselves and so sure of yourselves, embrace this. Show the people you're not afraid. This is an act of cowardice. This isn't an act of bravery or restoring faith in the Republic, because I hear all the time for vote blue no matter who people. We got to stop Trump. We can't support third parties. Otherwise, Trump will win. If you're so afraid of third parties, maybe, I don't know, Democrats, you should have had follow through with all the years in which you could have done the right thing. But no, Democrats, what you did was lie. You didn't do your job. You failed at every single attempt. And any time there was a key election happening, oh, we got those emails. Oh, hey, give us $5. We'll do something to codify Roe v. Wade. Give us $5. We'll legalize cannabis. Give us $5. We'll invest in our infrastructure. Give us $5. And hey, we'll do something about student debt. Hey, give us $5 and we'll implement Medicare for all. How many times have we received those emails or those tweets or those posts on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever from these jagoff Democrats? They constantly use the things that we hoped they would fight for as a way to shake us down for, you guessed it, money. Despite these challenges, Schiller upheld We the People's Party registration, and the state Democratic Party has 30 days to appeal. Bunch of cowards. In Hawaii, as in some other states, the signature threshold to get a new third party on the ballot is lower than for independent candidates. So the Kennedy campaign started a new third party called We the People Party, forming a central committee and gathering 862 signatures. It was launched, the We the People Party, in several other states as well, to take advantage of the lesser requirements, including vote-rich California. The Democratic Party tried to object to the formation of the party, not by challenging any of the signatures it gathered, but instead through a technicality in the We the People bylaws. The new third party's rules stated that its party officers shouldn't be members of any other political party. Marzowski and Susan Eldon, who both hold leadership positions, were alleged to be Democrats. Oh, who cares? Jesus Christ, Democrats, you're becoming off more pathetic. But the state party failed to provide enough evidence showing their party affiliation, as well as sufficient documentation about why this conflicting party affiliation would be disqualifying. Hearing officer Aaron Schiller wrote in his decision, Hawaii does not have partisan voter registration. Another We the People Party leader was also no longer a registered voter in Hawaii, which the party alleged made him ineligible to take on the role for party's formation according to a state law. But We the People won again on this claim. A single non-voter would not be sufficient to cause any political party to no longer be considered an association of voters, Schiller wrote on this issue. The state Democratic Party did not respond to a request for comment after the decision because they've got egg on their face, because the Democratic Party is nothing but a bunch of clowns. They are clowns. They are clowns. We're ruled over by clowns. We are ruled over by unserious people. So I wish Dr. Jill Stein all the best to secure those 90,000 signatures, and to hopefully her campaign could raise up the necessary funds in order for them to be recognized in the great state of New York. I hope that her campaign will also be successful in my state in Illinois and in the neighboring state of Indiana. But no third-party candidate should face off against this. Not the Libertarians, not the Greens, not Dr. Cornel West, and not RFK Jr. All independent candidates have a right to be on the ballot. And Hardlens Media, to our credit, every election cycle, we've interviewed third-party candidates and independents who are running for office, not only here in the state of Illinois, but nationwide. And the stories are always the same. Securing ballot signatures, dealing with the press smearing and slandering them, dealing with attacks and threats by the Democratic Party and Republican Party of each respective state. It seems that the Democratic Party and Republican Party can and will work together to keep their scam, I mean, their system, up and running so that you, the voter, don't see another choice. Now, third parties and independents are not spoilers. Politics 101 is you have a candidate running for office, and their job is to convince voters that they are the better candidate, and thus earning said voters' vote. Now, I'm going to vote independent third party because I feel that the Democratic Party and Republican Party do not represent my values. Both are part of the neoliberal system in which they are connected and owned by Wall Street, big banks, and major corporations. And I encourage you, my audience, to consider doing the same. Break away from voting Democrat or Republican. Now, this is probably going to be my last election voting. I don't know how I'm going to feel about voting after this election cycle because I think at this point I am thoroughly burnt out, but that's fine. But all of you have that choice there too. And don't let these people bully you on social media saying, oh, if you vote for third party, you're helping Trump. Just look at them in the eye and ask them, is that all you got? Is that all you have? Because trust me on it, folks, it's really liberating knowing that you live rent-free in these unserious people's heads. They're so triggered by Trump that they fail to realize that their own party are acting and implementing laws that they fear Donald Trump would do. Isn't it ironic? The Democratic Party is acting shockingly undemocratic.